اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والشهداء والعلماء، وخاصة من اجتمعنا لأجله، المرحوم الحاج حسين طالب وجميع خدمة أهل البيت، رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين، إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. الشمس والقمر بحسبان، والنجم والشجر يسجدان. والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان، ألا تطغوا في الميزان. وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان. والأرض وضعها للأنام، فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام. والحب ذو العصف والريحان، فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار، وخلق الجان من مارج من نار. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يخرج منهما اللؤلؤ والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان إلى روح من اجتمعنا لأجله الحاج حسين طالب رحمه الله من قرأ الفاتحة. وله الجوار المنشآت في البحر كالأعلام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يسأله من في السماوات والأرض كل يوم هو في شأن فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان سنفرغ لكم أيها الثقلان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يرسل عليكما شواظ من نار ونحاس فلا تنتصران فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فإذا انشقت السماء فكانت وردة كالدهان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيومئذ لا يسأل عن ذنبه إنس ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان إلى روح من اجتمعنا لأجله الحاج حسين طالب رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة. بسم الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات، وإلى جميع خدمة أهل البيت، وإلى روح من اجتمعنا لأجله الحاج حسين طالب، رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بفضل الله، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله، اللهم لعنهم جميعا. ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين محمد. وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. قال الله العظيم في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور، والذين كفروا أولياؤهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات، أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. One second. I'm like the princess and the pea. The floor's uneven while I'm standing, and it's going to irritate me the whole time. Yeah. Just let me move forward. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Before I begin with our discussion, I just want us to talk a little bit, just a small portion, about Al-Hajj Hussein Talib, who passed into Allah's mercy yesterday morning. Now, as you know, many people live their life and they leave a legacy behind. Usually that legacy is a child that upholds their name. Hajj Hassan Talib and his wife, who may Allah prolong her life and keep her in good health, their legacy is their service to Ahlul Bayt alayhum as-salam, that they lived their entire life in this center, in serving in this center, from when we were in Rockdale, and they would move from place to place. The movement of where this center would go, they would move there, and they would work in service of this center. The reality of this and what they left behind can be seen in the fact that many people went and were involved in condoling them. And the night we went to visit him, you know, and it's a bit, to make me walk 10 meters is a bit of a task. And Sayyid Jafar Qazwina, Allah yahfadhu, he said, we're going to go up to the oncology ward to go visit Hajj Hassan. He's in intidhar. He's close to passing away. And obviously, you know, I went with him, but he's the one that urged me. He's the pious one that led me in that direction. So when I got there, and I realized when we entered the room, there were 6 mu'ammamin in the room, and to come visit him in that room at the same time. And this is something that would get him that kind of a blessing, that people in service of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam came to visit him in his last moments, to put him in this perspective, just to see that last moment, to give you a view of this person, that his whole life, where he would serve Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Obviously, if he was living in the Middle East and you said this story, you know, whoop-de-doo, there'd be that many turning up anyway. But in a country where there isn't that many to turn up to the hospital, was something to show you what type of person that people would go to see him, even at any moment, and there was an actual occasion at that time, just to show you that this person expressed his whole life in servitude. There's also unsung heroes, like one of the brothers. I don't know if I'm going to name him because I need to get his permission. But this guy took a lot of time of his work to sit there and help and be around Hajj Hassan in his last moments. What would encourage his brother to do this was the fact he was related to him, but that wasn't the real reason, because he didn't have any children, remember. The real reason was because these people that have no one around at these times, no children around, Allah Azza wa Jal sends the people to them, sends the people to recognize them, sends the people to have the grief over them, and gives them that status because their whole life was given in the path of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So why am I mentioning this specifically? Because you are on the doorstep of Muharram al-Haram, and a time for you to consider, how are you going to serve the majalis of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein? How are you going to attend these majalis and involve yourself? We're not talking about just attending. Involving yourself in any way. Involving yourself with what? Your attendance. Involving yourself with helping out, whether it is to do with cleaning the marakas that will hold majalis, whether it has to do with serving tea, whether it has to do with serving the people there, whether it has to do with you involving yourself in the latam, not just walking away, to show that I'm going to be of those that are considered. This title that we will mention with Hajj Hassan, that it was Khadim Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and this is a title that you would prefer than someone calling you a king, to be the servant of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, to have this title upon his pure soul and the soul of all those that have served Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. I ask you all to recite the purified and blessed surah of Al-Fatiha with the salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. question that's often asked, if someone is on life support, am I allowed to switch off the life support or not? Is it permissible for me to end their life? And it's a big problem. People always bring up this question. Can I switch off their life support? Can I switch off the oxygen? While we are worrying about this, that could happen to someone that is in a vegetative state. In some cases, they may never come out. Our oxygen was switched off 1,400 years ago. You need to think about this. Because Al-Ghadeer is not a historic event. It's not something that could just be passed off as a point that happened in history. But Al-Ghadeer is a story of the suffocation of Islam and the warning of the suffocation of Islam. This day was to warn the people, if they neglect this, that all our life supports would be switched off. And this is why we are left with this distorted Islam that is defamed by many. That every time anything would happen, people can hit at Islam hammer and tong, and it is accepted by the masses. And this has also been the reason why atheism has spread. Why did atheism spread in the land? If you take a look at, for example, if you take a look at Christianity, Catholicism, what made a lot of people leave the Catholic faith? Wasn't it all the crimes or the allegations against the priesthood? The fact that the leading man of the cloth in Australia served time for the same thing that all these people had been accused of, and all these allegations and in some cases convictions that existed made people flock away from religion. Now, the problem was because how can I trust a person to guide me to God when this person is not only fallible, meaning someone that commits mistakes and errors, but the most despised creation of God? If you take a look at historically, the ones that they move you towards are usually the most despicable of all creation. The worst of all creation. They don't tell you, like I've mentioned this before with Christianity, they don't tell you, okay, don't follow St. Peter, who was the rightful heir, who was the rightful caliph of after Jesus Christ, sallallahu ala Muhammed wa ali Muhammad. On the contrary, they don't tell you just leave St. Peter and go to Luke or go to Matthew. They turn you towards the most despicable of people at the time. They turn you to Paul, the first killer in Christianity. The first martyr in Christianity was St. Stephen, an 18-year-old that was killed by who? St. Paul. And all of a sudden, Paul is now, like I said, St. Paul. Someone that is venerated. And in fact, when you mention Christianity, it's all about Paul. Paul of Tarsus is the one that's always mentioned. The road to Damascus is what is spread. The most despicable of creation suddenly has the religion upon his shoulders. So you wonder, where did Wahhabism come from? And the rise and almost fall, it's almost finished, of this terror line, or this line, or this branch of religion. Where did it come from? It came from this distortion. Now the thing is, with the day of Ghadeer, the first thing you must all accept and understand, that no Muslim denies that the event took place. See, when we talk about certain events that took place in Islam, you might have deniers. people will deny certain things. If we talk about something, people might say, for example, if I said that Imam Ar-Rida alayhi salam was poisoned, some historians, some Muslims say this didn't take place. They question the poisoning of Imam Ar-Rida alayhi salam. Other events during history like this that did take place are also questioned. And you'll see throughout, someone will mention some event and then you'll have people that deny it. For example, I'm not talking about whether it's verified or not. We're talking about whether they publicly deny it. The martyrdom of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, the hujum ala dar, there are those that deny it, even though it's in history, but there are people that deny it. With the day of Ghadeer, no one gets up on the mambar and says that it did not take place. What they do is they change the meaning of the whole event. You know, rather than one man raising the hand of another, it becomes two men that turned up to give each other a high five and say, we are buddies, let the world all testify to this. This is all that comes out, and this is the result that you have there. But the actual event, before we talk about where we are with this, is that the Messenger of God, this is for everyone to understand why we celebrate the day of Ghadeer. The Messenger of God, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It is narrated that he performed Hajj multiple times in secret, up to the amount of 20 pilgrimages in secret. This was the first pilgrimage that was out in the open that they knew of, and it was called Hajjat al-Wada'. This was called the farewell pilgrimage. And in fact, in the sermon, the long sermon, the Messenger of God mentions the importance of this day and this event. Now, before this, you need to remember, as if the messenger is not holding a heavy message that holds down, that even Allah testifies in the Quran. What? He says, Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa wada'na anka wizrak alladhi anqada dhahrak. That this weight that's upon you, Ya Rasulullah, is holding, the weight is so much, it's holding you down. You are bearing such a burden. This is a huge, you are holding the message. This is an arduous task to begin with. Imagine you have such an arduous task, and then you get a reminder that this is, everything is on your shoulders. The whole world's looking unto you. But what if it goes one step further, where you are given a warning? A warning that says, you fail here, you have done nothing. Everything you have done is what? Is not worth anything if you do not fulfill this task. Allah Azza wa Jal says, Ya ayyuha rasul. Allah is speaking to His messenger. He says, Balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik. You need to communicate that which has been sent down to you from your Lord. You have to do this. He says, wa in lam taf'al. There's a warning here to the messenger of God. If you do not do this, فَمَا بَلَّغْتَ رِسَالَتَهُ. Everything you have done is naught. If this part of the message is not delivered, this is how dire this is. You've been carrying this weight. You think about this, hold on. How many ghazawat, how many battles took place? Yes, your life was at risk. You lost your beloved Abu Talib. You lost your beloved Khadija. This was all for Islam. You lost your beloved Hamza. You lost your beloved Ja'far. You lost all the ones that were close to you. And I've brought the religion to this point. Then I am warned that this has not been fulfilled if this final point is not done. This we call the crux. This we call the pivot. This is the most important point of the message according to this verse. And then God, like He has said to the prophets previously, when He sent Musa, and He said to him and Harun, وَلَا تَخَافَا إِنِّي مَعَكُمَا أَسْمَعْ وَأَرَى. Do not fear, I am with you. Allah then says to His prophet, after the warning, as we say, حط جريك بما يبرد, just go and everything's going to sort itself. Why? He says, وَاللَّهُ يَعْصِمُكَ مِنَ النَّاسِ. Allah will protect you from the people. Allah is your protector. This is not only was he given a dire warning, he was also told him, I'm with you the whole way. Do not fear, I'm with you the whole way. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الْكَافِرِينَ. So in other words, I will protect you. However, the unbelievers will not be guided. The ones that refuse to accept what is evident, what is manifest, what is apparent, they will not be guided. So he warned the Muslims that his days were numbered. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam announced what on this day? On day of Ghadeer, what was it? Everyone heard this. He announced, Man kuntu mawla, fahada aliyun mawla. That whoever I am the master of, this Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam is his master. Now, all that were there, men and women, gave allegiance to Ali. They gave bay'ah. When we say bay'ah, it's important for the young people to hear this. Bay'ah, when you hear bay'ah, because you'll be hearing this word over and over again in Muharram, that Imam Hussein refused to give bay'ah to Yazid. Bay'ah is when you put your hand beneath the leader's hand, you put his hand above yours and say, I am giving allegiance and paying homage to you as my leader. I accept your commandments. You are the one that has been given this authority. So all the people did this. In fact, it was done in a certain manner. The Prophet first said to the people, who am I? He didn't sit there and, sometimes you're walking in the street, you see someone, you want to say hi, you think, hold on, it might not be the person I'm thinking it is. Because you see them from far away. The Cheba, is this person? Sometimes you say hi and it turns out to be some other bloke. It's Bizarro, your mate. It's somebody else that you don't even know who it is. But you go, all right, save yourself embarrassment. Let's just keep walking. Pretend it didn't happen. So the messenger of God, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, stood up and he said, who am I? And the people said, you are Muhammad ibn Abdullah. And then he said, what is my position? They said, you are Rasulullah. You are the messenger of God. He repeated this 3 times. So there's no ambiguity. No one says, who is he again? What is his position again? No. Everyone knew what the situation was. So this isn't a friendship announcement. This isn't Imam Ali putting up a request for friendship and it's pending and Rasulullah accepting this, Like this is the way that they could say today it was. He said, all right, accepted him as my friend. Everyone got merry. Everyone paid homage because, it was a friendship day. So in the narration, once the Prophet had made the announcement, to give it even further, did you know who was the first to pay homage or give allegiance to Amir al-Mu'mineen? Why did Abu Bakr give allegiance first? Does anyone know? Does anyone answer it? I just want to see if anyone knows why did Abu Bakr give allegiance first. Do you know why? No. Because the Prophet called him. He said, oh, Abu Bakr, come and give allegiance. Why would the Prophet call him first? The people that don't believe the Prophet had the ilm of the unknown, they'll say, well, I don't know. just a magic choice. No, he called him, he said, come and give allegiance. To show the people, this Abu Bakr is giving bay'ah to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Who was second to give allegiance? Umar ibn al-Khattab. Why did Umar give bay'ah? Because the Prophet called Umar and told him to give bay'ah. Who was the third? Uthman ibn Affan. Did the Prophet just get it lucky? To call all three of them, one after the other, to give bay'ah to Ali ibn Abi Talib. One after the other. Why would he do that? Why would Rasulullah do that? Because he knew these three were the ones that would usurp the right and take it from Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. So this is what we call, if you're watching a movie or a TV show, they call this foreshadowing. When they give you an idea of what is about to happen. Foreshadowing their aspirations for usurpation. It's coming up there. In fact, Amir al-Mu'mineen reminds them of this. See, this is why when someone says, oh, but how did they know? They were reminded. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and because it's a happy occasion, I really don't want to mention in too much detail, but he reminded them on the day of Ashura. Even the last person he reminded was who? Was Shimr ibn al-Jawshan. He said to him, I am Al-Hussein, the son of Ali, the son of Fatima, the daughter of Rasulullah. And then Shimr responded, I know that you are this person and I am the one that will kill you. And this is what kufr is, where I absolutely know who you are. So Amir al-Mu'mineen ihtajja alayhim. He gave what? A hujjah, a proof, a manifest proof that they could not reject. You gave me allegiance. It wasn't something where, you walk by and you witness. No, you gave me allegiance, then you usurped the right. And this is where we come to the contrast between what is wrong and what is right. You look at the contrast between what is wrong and what is right. What is a legitimate allegiance and what is an illegitimate allegiance? If you notice, everything that is good is connected to what? To light. And everything that is evil is connected to darkness. When you read Surah Al-Falaq, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب. When we ask Allah about Surah Al-Falaq, the Lord of the Falaq, why do we use the word Falaq? Falaq is the moment where the light dissects the darkness. Because this is where the Lord comes in, where Allah comes in. Of the evil of His creation and from the evil of the night, the darkness of the night when it sets in. Why is it the darkness? Why do we talk about the darkness? When do crimes get committed? At night. Like right now, people, sometimes you might hear in the Lebanese, they say, I was out last night, I was out today, there was no one out, wala dumari. You've heard that before? It was a mafi, wala dumari. What was a dumari? The dumari back in the old days was the person that used to light the street lamps. And he's the one that turns them out in the middle of the night. As it gets closer to dawn, he comes and turns them out. At that time, there's no one in the street. So when they say, wala dumari, even out at this time, there was not even that person. Because at night, did anyone leave their house? When there was no street lamps, you went home before the night set in. Why? Crimes were committed. 70 or 80% of the crime rate dropped when street lamps first came out. Did you know that? And now that there's cameras, when's the last time you saw road rage? Now every incident's a bit like a footy match. When they're about to punch on, everyone starts like pushing each other. No one throws a punch. Why? Because of cameras. Cameras changed the world. But it was all about darkness, essentially. Darkness is when the owl, the lion, all these hunters, these animals of prey, attack in the night. This is when the darkness and the most sinister activities take place. Well, goodness is always out in the light. And everything that is evil is sinister and connected to darkness. And is also hidden. For example, when you look at marriage, nikah, okay, it is announced. First we have an announcement, we have come to ask for your daughter's hand, and they accept, and then there is a marriage, there's an announcement, there's a dinner. We call this nikah. Nikah, and everyone is normal with it. One day you wouldn't even allow this person to be around your daughter. The next day he's with your daughter by himself. And this is absolutely accepted. We call this nikah. The other one, a bit different to this. It's the same thing, same activities are taking place. However, it's hidden. It's what we call sifah. And this is the fornication and the adultery. It takes place in a park bench, in a cheap motel, or in the tight place like in the back of a Volkswagen. So it takes place somewhere where no one considers what? No one considers anything to be legitimate because they see the darkness in their activity. It's got to be hidden. No one's got to know about this. It's recommended for one to celebrate when they get married. It's recommended for one to celebrate when they acquire a child. But when someone is fornicating or someone conceives an illegitimate child, it's also recommended to celebrate when one acquires a property. But when someone usurps something, they don't celebrate it. It's hidden. You just see someone akal hada, take someone's irth, someone's inheritance, and just no one knows about it. They make them sign something over, they don't even know what's going on. It is concealed. And it's claimed as it was originally there. It's a bit like Israel. You know? They tell you, yeah, that was originally ours. You know, this is the way it works. This is how sinister activity takes place. And this is the difference between the two caliphates, the Saqifa and Al-Ghadeer. This is where we come to the introductory verse. Allahu waliyul ladhina amanu. Allahu waliyul ladhina amanu. What is Allah? Allah is their friend. Allah is their friend. Allah is going to high five them. This is what they say on the Day of Judgment. There's an actual hadith. You can look this up. It's not our hadith. It's the other team's hadith. They say on the Day of Judgment, Allah runs through paradise. You know when two lovers haven't seen each other for a long time and they run through everyone, they don't see anything? Guess who's the other side running towards God? Have a guess. So Umar ibn al-Khattab. So Umar ibn al-Khattab is running towards God. This is an actual hadith. You can look this up. And God's running towards Umar. And remember, God is 40 feet, I think, or 60 feet tall, as they say. That's what they say. We don't believe in this. And he's got two right arms. You know, he's missing the other one. A bit like a titan. You know, so he's running through. And on the other side, Umar is running, and then they embrace. This is what they say about the Day of Judgment. You know, they embrace. This is what. So Allah is going to be picking out all his friends. This is what they think it means. It does not. Allahu waliyul ladhina amanu. Allah is who? He's the guardian. He is the master of who? Of those that believe. What does he do with belief? When we look at Islam and Iman, what's the difference between Islam and Iman? Islam is the lip service. To say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I say the shahadatain, I've entered the fold of Islam. But then there's Iman. A mu'min's different. A mu'min has entered and applied the shahadatain. How? He believed in God, he accepted God entirely in all his message. As one person, you know when sometimes people tell you, oh, why do you need to or mention Ahl al-Bayt or do dua towards Ahl al-Bayt? And so is Ahl al-Bayt's the issue. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam said, إِلَى هَا هُنَا التَّوْحِيد. Tawheed is even us. Our wilaya is a part of Tawheed. Your salah is a part of Tawheed, yes or no? Your fasting is a part of Tawheed, yes or no? Your Hajj is a part of Tawheed, yes or no? Who denies all this? I'll prove it to you. Just quickly. Someone that does not pray, what's their hukum? Look at all the hadith. Someone that does not pray has the hukum of a kafir. Someone that doesn't perform Hajj. What does it say? Hajj al-Bayt, man istata'a ilayhi sabila wa man kafar. Someone that doesn't perform Hajj is in the realms of kafir. And people that are able to. The one that doesn't fast falls into this fold. When we say that don't fast, we're not talking about the ones that just don't do it out of insolence, the ones that reject. You know, the ones that tell you, look, I don't believe we have to pray. I can pray to God in my heart. I don't believe we have to fast. You know, I can do intermittent fasting and drink water or whatever, have barley sugar. Remember the 40-hour famine? They used to have barley sugar. I can make up my own. But Tawheed is all-inclusive. You can't break it up and do what you prefer and reject what you want. It doesn't work like this. Okay? We can't follow religion in this manner. I can't pick and choose my religion. So Allahu waliyul ladhina amanu. The Iman is the belief in Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. يخرجهم من الظلمات. He takes them out of darkness إلى النور. نور الولاية. والذين كفروا. See, someone might say, hold on. You went one step too far. Those that reject the wilayah, knowing the wilayah. If someone rejects the wilayah of Ali ibn Abi Talib, knowing the wilayah, what's their hukum on the day of judgment? What's their hukum? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, khutbah Shahr Ramadan, which for some reason people only think it's until he finishes with what? He finishes by saying, ما أفضل الأعمال في هذا الشهر الورع عن محارم الله عز وجل. خلصت الخطبة. No one listens to the rest of the khutbah. Go read the whole khutbah. He says to him, إن الله خلقني وإياك. Oh, Rasulullah says to Imam Ali, Allah created me and created you. واصطفاني وإياك. So it wasn't, واصطفاني means Allah chose him. Your last warning. Allah chose him. That Allah chose Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, and he chose Ali ibn Abi Talib. Together, he didn't choose the Prophet and just say, hold on, I need a break to think who's next. He chose them together. إن الله خلقني وإياك واصطفاني وإياك واختارني للنبوة واختارك للإمامة. He chose me. He chose me for prophethood. He chose you for imama. And then he says what? فَمَنْ أَنْكَرَ إِمَامَتَكَ فَقَدْ أَنْكَرَ نُبُوَّتِي. This is in khutbah Shahr Ramadan that people don't read. They just stop al-wara' an maharim Allah azza wa jal. That whoever rejects your imamah rejects my prophethood. So we go to the rest of the verse. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَوْلِيَاؤُهُمْ الطَّاغُوتُ. The ones that reject, the ones that deny the wilayah, their master is who? At-Taghut. Taghut has an exclusive meaning. And it has a general meaning. General meaning is anyone that's rebellious, anyone that's linked with deviation and what is sinister. But its exclusive meaning, a jibt is the first, a taghut is the second. That's who it's linked to. أولياؤهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات. I don't want to explain why it's mentioned in Jama'. There's an explanation for this later, in another time. They will take them from light towards darkness. They take them towards darkness, and this is what happens. And then it says, أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. They are the adherents of hell, and they will be within hell forever. This is the concept of wilayah. It's not a concept of what? It's not a concept, when you think about it, that has something to do with a historical event. It is your life, the life that you see right now. In another day, inshallah, we'll discuss how the whole event took place. The darkness, because it was pre-planned. For those that think Saqifa was like Umar ibn al-Khattab, when they asked him about Saqifa and the bay'ah of Abu Bakr, he says, the bay'ah of Abu Bakr kanat falta, that it was a fluke, by chance. That's not true. This is one of the most incorrect things ever mentioned, because there was a sahifa. There was a, they call it hadith al-sahifa. There was a letter between them that was agreed upon, and it was hidden inside the Kaaba. That these people swore an oath together that they were to take the power. By all means, and this was an attack on the Prophet initially. And this was hidden in there. Why do you think, why would someone write up all their plans and hide it? It's not they're writing up their plans. What they're actually doing is, if one person gets caught, he's going to rat everyone out. So we're all in on it together. That way, if we've made an agreement, you can't get out anymore. You're stuck. You're involved with this. I don't want to go into the full detail of how they did it. But if you look at the Saqifa, we mentioned Ghadeer. How was it? Out in the open, in the light. We're at a junction where they leave Hajj. Everyone's present. It's not some secret the Prophet is setting up. Because you remember the events of Bay'at Abu Bakr. Do you know when they took place? They took place through a window. You know when someone dies until someone is buried. See that little window? That's where it was taken. This all took place before the burial of the Prophet. Even the attack on the house of Fatima. Because there was more than one attack. The initial attack was before the burial of the Prophet. It was just a very minute window that they managed to do everything within. Who turned up to Saqifa? The Ansar were already there, trying to organize who's going to. They were in on it too. But who turned up? If you look, it was only a few members of the Ansar, of the Muhajirin. The ones that turned up was Abu Bakr, Umar ibn al-Khattab, wa Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah. Them three. Some hadith say Khalid ibn al-Walid was with them too. You know? Some hadith say Salim Mawla Abi Hudayfa was with them. But that's a maximum. 5 people. You know? 5 people. You know there's blood on the table. They've all turned up. If you look at how many, it's only a few people. It's not something that's open. It's something very hidden. Very clandestine. You know, a lot of people when they go to study religion, they go to the seminaries. And I always warn people, whenever they go to the hawza, I said, when you go there, if some, you know, sinister looking figure or someone that just looks abnormal says, come, I'm going to take you to some secret lessons. If these lessons are so awesome, why aren't they given publicly? Why do they have to be in someone's little dungeon or little room that he's got to teach you that no one can know? And why am I exclusive? Why is God, honestly, if I look at myself and someone goes, you want to join my esoteric club? I go, me? I can't even stand looking at myself in the mirror. I know how vile and disgusting I am. Why would God choose me? But because of takabbur and pride and vanity, people say, yeah, I think God did choose me. Yes, I think I'm above all that. That's why you'll see them on the mumbar later saying, Ta'allam minni mawlana, ana al-a'lam. Where did they come with this? What do they tell you? Learn from me, I am the most knowledgeable. Who says I'm the most knowledgeable? Who would dare say this? This is a satanic approach. This is that method. So anything that's hidden, anything that's dark, be well aware of it. In fact, when you look at the dialogue, there's a dialogue between Ibn al-Abbas and Umar ibn al-Khattab about the caliphate. For something very simple that shows you how devious and sinister the Saqifa was and how pure the bay'ah of Amir al-Mu'mineen was. That when Ibn al-Abbas says, you knew that the caliphate was for Ali. Sorry, Umar al-Khattab says, I see you upset because you think you were more entitled. Because Ibn al-Abbas, at the end of the day, he is from Banu Hashim. So his idea of Imam Ali being in power was, I want our family to have the power. It wasn't the rightful position in the puristic thought that Salman and Abu Dhar and Ammar and Maghdad had. No, it was more of our family should be in power. But let's look at the dialogue. What he says to him is he says, Oh, Ibn Abbas, did you know that the Prophet wished for it to be Ali? And Allah wished for it to be Abu Bakr. And the will of God is above the will of the Prophet. This is, if you picked up a book said Kufr 101, this would be the first thing that would be mentioned. For you to distinguish this, to say that the Prophet and God are different in their commands. Because you are rejecting what? The Quran. Find me one verse in the Quran where God says in any way, obey the Prophet except, or obey the Prophet except, or if, nothing. He says it bil-itlaq, ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul. There's no doubt about it. The obedience of God is the obedience of the Prophet is the obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal. There's no difference here. So for you to differentiate between the two, you are differentiating the command of Allah. And the participants, Rasulullah, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, and Ali ibn Abi Talib, as the event of theirs was pristine and pure, of the bay'ah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, as it was like their conception. Amir al-Mu'mineen was born where? In the Kaaba. He came out in the middle of the house of purity. This is where he was born. As for the others, go question how they were born. Go look at the cocktails in the hadith of the Tariq. It wasn't two participants, and it wasn't in the back of a Volkswagen. God knows what tent it was in and how many participants. Go look at the hadith. How many people were involved? What kind of a cocktail churned these members that came out back then? Like today, like if these guys had what was available today, they'd have pages and it would be for free. You wouldn't need to subscribe. They were so open about this. And this is why you find the Muslims today are so abased. And their countries are ravaged by war. They hand over the natural resources to whoever. And all their holy places are governed by what? By mobs. To the point, the recent boxing event, one of the participants had on his shirt, Orthodox Christianity or death. And this fight was in Saudi Arabia, in the hub of Islam. It's supposed to be the country of Islam. He had Orthodox Christianity or death in Ukrainian written on his top. Not only that, even the whole fight was major sponsor was a adult. I don't want to mention the title because I don't want some kid to go Google it now. An adult website was the major sponsor of the boxing event. Because this is the result of the Saqifa. Had it been the result of Ghadeer, you would see only purity. There'd be no bay'ah to anyone from outside. There'd be no allegiance to them. No one would, but because the beginning of all of this was the allegiance to those that weren't deserving, that's why you find them all prostrating towards Tel Aviv. You know, sometimes someone will tell me, and I'm going to finish off with this, they will ask that why is the Western world complicit with what Israel does? You know, once I told someone, like one of the Lebanese politicians, Samir Jaja, someone told me he's an Amil. I said, no, he's not Amil. He's the most loyal person to his own people. He's an Orthodox Christian. He's a Maronite Christian, and he's a Zionist. They're in line with each other. So he's loyal to his khat. He's a loyal person to his own path. The ones that people should look at are the ones that claim Islam. The ones that put the Shahada on their flags. The ones that have this, and yet they witness everything that's happening in the world, and they are complicit. This is a result of the Saqifa. If anyone thinks it's other than this, it's a result of the Saqifa. Yes, this is a result of, if you look behind the Saqifa, yes, behind it are the Red Sea pedestrians originally. It's always them. In the beginning, it's always them. The ones that, Ka'b al-Ahbar and this mob, it's always them. They're behind everything. They're the ones that turned against Musa. They're the ones that turned against Isa. The same people. But this is where it's from. Saqifa is their doing. The Saqifa isn't an Islamic thing. The Saqifa was the doing of these people. This is their doing, and up to now, this is the result of their doing. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal not to take us from this world except upon the path of the bay'ah of Al-Ghadeer, the path of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to hasten the reappearance of our master Al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan al-Mehdi arwahuna fidah. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to have mercy on Hajj Hussein Talib and all of the servants of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, all those that have participated in Majlis Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, all those that have died on the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen and upon the bay'ah of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And inshallah, Allah grants us all the opportunity to stand and give allegiance to his grandson, Al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan, أرواحنا فداه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا، والأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والأرواح موتانا جميعا، ولقضاء الحوائج وقبول الأعمال وشفاء المرضى وغفران الذنوب وتعجيل الفرج وحسن العاقبة، وروح الحج حسين طالب. رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.